You want to know how legends are made? It's not in the highlight reels. It's not in the box scores or the polished post-game interviews. Legends are born in the heat, in those messy, emotional, gut-check moments when everything feels unfair and the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And that's exactly where Caitlin Clark found herself. Middle of a scrappy, bruising game. Her team barely holding together.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
The bench depleted, bodies breaking down. And then, bam, Lexie Hull takes an elbow to the face. No call, no whistle, no nothing. Just another day in the WNBA. Except this time, something snapped. This time, Caitlin didn't just shake her head or wave off the refs. She lost it. And in that instant, she stopped being a rookie and became a rock star. Because what we saw wasn't just anger. It wasn't even about the foul, not really. It was bigger. It was built up from weeks, months, of watching her team get pushed around, disrespected, ignored by officials, and brushed aside in the broader league conversation. The Fever weren't just injured. They were forgotten. And Caitlin? She refused to let that stand. That moment on the court? That's when it all clicked. She wasn't just playing for herself anymore. She was fighting for her team. For Lexie, who had just been clocked in the face and left on the floor like her health was optional. For Kelsey Mitchell, who's been dragging this team forward on sheer willpower and shot-making magic. For Aaliyah Boston, who's been anchoring the paint with no backup and no rest. For every teammate running on fumes, being asked to do the impossible because there's no one else left to do it. And when Caitlin let the refs have it, we all saw something real. Not PR-approved leadership. Not a, we just have to execute better soundbite. But raw, visceral fire. It was the kind of moment that fans don't just remember, they rally around. Because say what you want about Clark's temper or the volume of her complaints, here's the truth. People are tired of watching injustice get shrugged off. And Caitlin? She's done shrugging. That's what separates her from the rest. Most rookies play it safe. They keep their heads down, defer to the vets, avoid stirring the pot. Caitlin Clark? She flipped the pot over and set it on fire. And let's be honest, it wasn't just about that one elbow. That was the tipping point, the final insult. Because this Indiana team, it's been fighting uphill since game one. Injury after injury, loss after loss. No rhythm, no consistency. They've had more lineup changes than a music festival. Every time they start to build momentum, someone else goes down. It's not bad luck. It's a crisis. Lexie Hull, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, Chloe Beebe, gone. And who's left? A skeleton crew held together with grit, tape, and Caitlin Clark's presence. And it is a presence. Let's be clear. When Caitlin Clark is on the court, the energy shifts. The defense reacts. The crowd leans in. The cameras don't blink. She is that rare kind of athlete who doesn't just play the game. She commands it. So when she stood up and shouted at the refs, defending Lexie, defending her team, defending the integrity of the game, people listened. And not just fans. Brands listened. Because here's where things get real interesting. While the league has been fumbling its officiating credibility and letting its stars get battered, corporate America has been watching. Watching Caitlin Clark drive jersey sales. Watching her light up ratings. Watching her stand her ground and spark conversations that nobody else dared to start. And now, the deals are rolling in. Nike, Stanley, Gatorade, all circling the moment, lining up to be part of the movement. Because what Caitlin's building isn't just a fan base, it's a cultural wave. And that explosion on the court, that just made her real to everyone watching. She's not just a logo or a shooting percentage. She's a leader with teeth. And that kind of authenticity, it prints money. But here's the twist. Clark's rising fame isn't making her soft. It's making her dangerous. Because she's not just selling shoes and water bottles. She's pushing back against a system that's been broken for years. A system that lets stars get clobbered and shrugs. A system that lets teams like the Fever get treated like filler in a highlight reel. A system that demands players be grateful for exposure, even when it comes with bruises and black eyes. Clark's not buying into that. She's breaking it. And the league? Oh, they're starting to feel the heat. Because for the first time in a long time, fans are angry. Not just disappointed, not just annoyed, angry. Angry that Lexie Hull took a hit and got silence. Angry that Caitlin had to be the one to say something. Angry that every time Indiana gets a call, maybe it's a debate, but when their opponents breathe too hard, it's a foul. And let's be honest, this isn't sustainable. The league needs reform. The officiating needs transparency. And the Fever need help. But you know what's wild? Even without help, they're still standing. Kelsey Mitchell? She's been a walking bucket with no break in sight. Aaliyah Boston? Dominating the paint like it owes her rent. Aerial Powers? Plug-and-play intensity. And now that Clark is back, that spark is catching fire. Because she's not just putting up points, she's putting up a fight. And it's contagious. You can feel it in every possession, every fast break, every defensive stand where they should be exhausted, but just keep going. This team might be down to duct tape and heart, but they've got something no opponent wants to deal with. Purpose. And Clark? She's the engine. She knows the playoffs are still barely within reach. She knows the margin for error is razor thin. And she knows that every game from here on out isn't just about standings. It's about making a statement. A statement that says, we're not scared, we're not done, and we're not going away. So yeah, Caitlin Clark defended Lexie Hull. Loudly, passionately, publicly. And in doing so, she became more than just a star. She became a symbol of what happens when talent meets principle, when loyalty outweighs fear, when a rookie decides to lead the revolution. And if you think she's doing all this without knowing exactly what it means for her brand, please, Clark's not just a player. She's a business, and she's about to make millions. But that's not what drives her, because if it was just about checks and endorsements, she wouldn't be risking it all by yelling at officials and putting herself in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. No, this isn't about fame. It's about fairness. And whether the league wants to admit it or not, she's forcing the conversation. And maybe, just maybe, that's how the system finally starts to change. So tell me, where were you when Caitlin Clark went off for her team? Because we'll be talking about it for years. Not just because it was bold, not just because it went viral, but because in that moment, she reminded everyone, this isn't just a game, it's a fight, and she's here to win it. Let's pick this right back up, because if you thought Caitlin Clark's fiery defense of Lexie Hull was just a heat-of-the-moment outburst, buckle up. That was Chapter 1. What's unfolding now? It's the full-blown arc. The kind where the underdog doesn't just rise, they pull the whole system up with them or burn it down trying. Because let's be honest, Clark didn't just stand up for her teammate. She exposed something way bigger. She cracked open the uncomfortable truth the league's been dancing around for years. That fairness in the WNBA isn't always evenly distributed. That some teams, some players, and some moments get the spotlight and the sympathy, while others get tossed aside like background extras in someone else's storyline. And Indiana? For most of the season, they've been treated like an afterthought. But then Caitlin Clark happened, and suddenly, the league had no choice but to pay attention. Let's zoom out for a second. Think about where Clark started this season. Hailed as the next big thing, thrust into a broken system with broken bodies and a broken sense of balance. The cameras followed her like she was royalty, but when the elbows started flying, the whistles didn't. She was expected to carry a team and carry the league, and when she finally said enough, it was like watching lightning strike. And here's the thing, when lightning hits, everything shifts, because the league's not just watching Clark anymore, they're reacting to her. Suddenly, every official's call is under the microscope. Every post-game presser has to address her name. Every fan, analyst, and casual viewer is asking the same question. Is the WNBA ready for what Caitlin Clark is becoming? Because she's not just a scorer, not just a rookie, not just the face on the side of a Nike truck. She's a catalyst, the kind who shows up, sees the cracks in the foundation, and doesn't look away. You think it's a coincidence that her explosion after Lexie Hull's injury went viral in minutes? That it spawned debates on every platform? That suddenly every sports show had a weigh in? No, that's what happens when someone shakes the table. Clark's moment wasn't polished. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't filtered for marketability. It was real, and that's what made it powerful. She wasn't standing up for a headline. She was standing up for a teammate who'd just gotten clocked and left on the floor like it didn't matter. And in doing that, she wasn't just defending Lexie Hull. She was defending every woman who's ever been told to be quiet and play nice. And the best part? She's just getting started. Because this isn't the part of the story where everything gets tied up in a neat little bow. This is where Caitlin Clark doubles down. This is where she comes back stronger, sharper, louder. And it's already happening. You can see it in how she's practicing, locked in. You can see it in how the team's shifting. The energy is buzzing. You can see it in the fans. The ones who were skeptical, now they're believers. Because Clark didn't just take a stand. She took control of the narrative. And that's what legends do. They don't wait for change. They become it. Now, let's talk dollars, because for all the chaos, all the pain, all the outrage, something else is brewing. The money's moving. See, when Clark defended Lexie, she wasn't just showing heart. She was showing brand. And in this era of sports, that's everything. Nike sees it. Stanley sees it. Gatorade sees it. Every executive with a calculator and a pulse sees it. Because leadership, it sells. And realness, it sells out. Caitlin Clark isn't a star because she's marketable. She's marketable because she's unapologetically herself. She's the rookie who doesn't wait her turn. She's the face of the team that won't back down. She's the fire that says, you won't hurt my teammate and get away with it. That's $1 billion energy. And the endorsements? They're already pouring in. The deals are stacking. The branding is getting bolder. The logo? She's got one now. The merchandise? Selling out in minutes. But here's what separates Clark from the typical star pipeline. She's earning this in real time. Not just by playing well, but by leading when it's uncomfortable. By speaking out when silence would be safer. By standing up when it might cost her. That's rare. And people? They're starving for it. In an era where most athletes are media trained to death, Clark is giving us something raw, something honest. And yeah, it's messy sometimes. Yeah, she's emotional. Yeah, she claps back. Yeah, she doesn't always play the politics game. But that's what makes her worth watching. And now, she's walking into the second half of the season with her team broken, but not beaten. With playoff hopes dangling, but not gone. With the league watching, but not ready. And she's going to light it up. Because she's not coming back just to win games. She's coming back to prove something. To prove that Indiana's not a punching bag. To prove that young women don't have to shrink to be respected. To prove that standing up doesn't make you a villain. It makes you a visionary. And if she takes this broken team to the playoffs, if she brings the fever back from the brink, if she wins, not just with points, but with principle, she won't just be a millionaire. She'll be a movement. So yeah, Caitlin Clark just became a rock star. Not because of what she said, but because she had the guts to say it, and the game to back it up. This is what change looks like. Not polished, not perfect, but powerful. So keep watching, keep shouting, keep showing up. Because if Clark's rise has shown us anything, it's this. The revolution will not be refereed, but it will be televised. And Caitlin, she's front and center. All right, let's keep this train moving, because Caitlin Clark's story? Oh, it's just warming up. We're not even halfway through the movie yet. We've seen the spark. We've seen the explosion. But now, we're watching the fallout and the rise. The messy, electric, painfully honest rise of a rookie who refuses to stay in her lane. And thank God for that. Because here's the truth no one in the league office wants to say out loud. Caitlin Clark is the main character now. And the league? It's reacting to her. Every camera angle, every whistle, every press conference, every Twitter thread. It's all orbiting around this one rookie who walked in, threw a spotlight on everything the WNBA has tried to ignore, and said, let's talk about that. And when she defended Lexie Hull, when she stared down the officials and basically shouted, do your job, in front of thousands of fans, that was the moment the narrative flipped. That was the moment she stopped being the future of women's basketball and became its present. Let's break down what that moment meant, because it wasn't just about defending a teammate. That was about setting a tone. That was Clark saying, we are not a charity case. We are not filler content between NBA seasons. We are professionals. We deserve protection. We deserve consistency. And if we don't get it, I will burn this narrative to the ground and rebuild it with my own hands. It was the kind of moment that makes other players stand up straighter. The kind that makes teams tighten their laces. The kind that makes fans go, yeah, that's my player. And now, the Caitlin Clark effect is starting to hit in full force. Let's talk visibility. Let's talk influence. Let's talk power. Because it's not just about her crossing over defenders anymore. It's about her crossing over into culture. You don't get a signature shoe before you've even played a full season unless you're bringing something bigger than stats. Nike doesn't invest millions into a name unless they see something uncontainable, something that spills out of the arena and into the bloodstream of a generation. And Caitlin? She's delivering that. And ironically, it's not the deep threes that are cementing her legacy right now. It's the leadership, because anyone can hit shots when they're winning. But it takes something different to stand tall when your roster is held together with Band-Aids and adrenaline. It takes something different to put your name on the line for a teammate, to yell at an official knowing it'll go viral, to call out the league's flaws knowing full well that league is also your employer. And yet Clark did it. She kept receipts, and she handed them out like flyers. That's what people are responding to. Not just the talent, but the fearlessness. She's not scared to ruffle feathers. Not scared to speak when it's inconvenient. Not scared to get emotional when most players, especially women, are told to be calm, grateful, and quiet. Caitlin Clark is not quiet. She's not made for background roles. She is front and center, and she's using the platform to ask some brutal questions. Why aren't we protecting players better? Why is officiating still this inconsistent in 2025? Why does it feel like Indiana is being treated like the league's test dummy? And most importantly, why does it take a viral meltdown from a star rookie to get people to care? That question, it's rattling the league. Because it's not just Clark asking it. Now it's the fans. Now it's the analysts. Now it's everyone with a mic and a brain. And you know who else is paying attention? The money. Because while the WNBA scrambles to manage headlines, brands are thriving in the chaos. Nike's logo drop didn't just trend, it dominated. Stanley's product collab, instant sellout. Merchandise tied to Clark, moving faster than anything the league's seen in years. Why? Because Caitlin Clark is the perfect storm. She's got the underdog energy of someone who came in without guarantees, the media magnetism of a seasoned pro, the courage of a leader twice her age, and the rage of someone who refuses to be ignored. And in today's landscape, that's not just a vibe. That's a brand. That's currency. That's influence you can't manufacture in a boardroom. Now let's talk Indiana, because while all this branding and backlash and brilliance is happening, the Fever are grinding. They're still trying to win games, still trying to make the playoffs, still trying to hold on. The roster's been through hell. Injuries have turned them into a Frankenstein team. Roles change by the quarter. Strategies shift on the fly. But there's one constant. They don't quit. And that's a reflection of Caitlin, too. She doesn't just inspire viewers. She inspires teammates. And that's what we're seeing now. A team that, by all accounts, should have folded is still swinging. You can feel the momentum shifting. It's subtle. It's slow. But it's happening. Every game Clark suits up, there's more chemistry, more movement, more confidence. Because now they've got their leader back. Not just the scorer. Not just the rookie sensation, but the one who stood up and screamed, "We deserve better." And that matters. That sticks. So if you're watching the standings, if you're watching the schedules, if you're wondering whether the Fever can pull off a playoff miracle, here's your answer. They already have. They've taken the league's biggest controversy and turned it into a rallying cry. They've taken adversity and weaponized it. And with Caitlin Clark leading the charge, they've reminded everyone that this team, this city, this movement, it's not going anywhere. So what happens next? The Fever will fight. The league will shift. And Caitlin? She's going to keep showing up. Not just on the court, but in the culture. Because she's not just here to entertain. She's here to rewrite the rules. And if you think that's dramatic, good. Because this isn't a quiet story. This is a rock star origin arc. The kind that ends with banners, billboards, and books. So lean in. Watch the games. Feel the tension. Ride the wave. Because Caitlin Clark just gave women's basketball a new voice, hers. And the world is finally listening. Of course, let's finish this story the way it deserves to be told. Because the thing about moments like this, they don't fizzle out. They echo. Caitlin Clark didn't just clap back at a bad call. She planted a flag. Right there on the court, in front of the cameras, the refs, the fans, she drew a line and said, "You don't get to treat us like we're invisible." And the world noticed. Every article, every highlight reel, every podcast segment dissecting her reaction, her leadership, her refusal to play nice for the sake of keeping the peace. It all fed into the same undeniable truth. This league just got a little louder, and Caitlin Clark is holding the megaphone. What makes this even more powerful is that it wasn't a stunt. It wasn't calculated. It was pure fire, the kind that comes from protecting someone you care about, the kind that says, "You don't mess with my team," and walk away unbothered. Lexie Hull's face said it all, stunned, hurting, barely acknowledged by the officials. And when Caitlin saw that, something in her just snapped, not out of control, but into control. Like she finally realized that if she doesn't use her platform, nobody else will. And now, she's everywhere. Talk shows are debating her maturity, her leadership, her sportsmanship, as if being passionate and unapologetic suddenly disqualifies her from being a professional. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. If anything, it cements it. Because let's be honest, if a male rookie screamed at a ref for missing an obvious call on a teammate, they'd be lauded as fiery. A born leader. The next Kobe. But Caitlin? She's controversial. Emotional. Too much. Too much what exactly? Too much courage? Too much loyalty? Too much refusing to shrink down so everyone else feels comfortable? Please. Caitlin Clark isn't too much. She's exactly enough. And the WNBA should be thanking her. Because for all the talk of marketing and growth and making women's basketball more exciting, nothing, not a logo, not a promo, not a campaign, has ignited the public imagination like Caitlin Clark simply standing up. Standing up for Lexie Hull. Standing up for her teammates. Standing up for a league that hasn't quite figured out how to protect its stars, but is now being forced to try. So here's where we land. Caitlin's return isn't just about basketball. It's about power, about using it, about owning it, about not apologizing for having it. She's not just a rock star. She's a reckoning. And the rest of the season? You better believe it's going to be personal. Because when you hit a fever player, you don't just get away with it. Not anymore. Not on Caitlin Clark's watch.